Wesley is a highly approachable modern baby name with a steady upward trajectory, reaching a recent peak at number 114 on the U.S. charts in 2022. It carries a broad cultural footprint, bridging the gap between action pop culture, like actor Wesley Snipes, and historical military leadership, like General Wesley Clark. But if you rewind the clock a few hundred years, giving a newborn the name Wesley would have made absolutely no logical sense. Before it was a personal identity, the word was strictly a geographic description of a physical place. To see how a literal patch of dirt became a top-tier global baby name, we have to follow the 18th century religious movement that remapped the English language. In medieval England, society relied on a utilitarian system of topographical surnames to keep track of people. The word itself comes from Old English, built by combining two distinct root components. Leah translated directly to a wood, clearing, or meadow. In a purely sumptional society, a person living near this landscape simply became known as John of the Wesley. To a medieval English speaker, the term carried no personal, emotional weight. It conjured a literal, pastoral reality, a lush, green western meadow sloping gently toward a tree line. In this era, Wesley functioned as a map coordinate, a locator tag assigned to a person based on their physical surroundings. That entirely geographic definition held steady until the 18th century, when two brothers, John and Charles Wesley, stepped onto the historical stage. As Anglican clerics, they became the primary architects of the Methodist movement. Their religious revival reached a massive scale. They took their preaching out of the churches and into open-air gatherings, drawing enormous, deeply engaged crowds across the country. This level of social impact triggered a sociological practice within Protestant communities, known as tribute naming. Followers developed a deep reverence for the brothers' moral character and intellectual pursuit. To honor that legacy, they began adopting the Wesley family surname and giving it to their sons as a first name. This phenomenon took root with intense regional focus, especially in the southern United States, tracking precisely with where Methodism established its strongest foothold. Through sheer ideological devotion, followers pushed a rigid family surname across the linguistic divide, turning it into a recognized given name. We can actually track this structural strength through modern statistical records, starting with the first official U.S. name registry in 1880. This is a chart plotting Wesley's popularity over time. It shows a remarkably consistent rank within the top 200 names throughout the entire 20th century, a stability driven primarily by those original religious ties. As the timeline approaches the late 1900s, we see a brief statistical dip, followed immediately by a sharp, steady climb that reaches a peak at number 114 in 2022. A recent statistical surge like this is highly unusual for a name tied directly to an 18th century religious movement. It survived the centuries because its meaning evolved. The name shed its strict reliance on Methodist history, allowing it to appeal to a completely new demographic of modern parents. Today, the name leads a double life. For many Christian families, it remains a direct connection to Methodism and its founding figures. But for secular parents, the appeal lies simply in those literal Old English roots, the gentle, grounded evocation of nature, tranquility, and a western meadow. Wesley is a rare linguistic survivor, a name that functions as a record of a religious shift, while still reflecting its original, quiet landscape.